Building great credit matters. Your credit score tells lenders how responsibly you borrow money. Do you pay back what you owe? Great, awesome. Do you not pay back what you owe? Bad, terrible. So why exactly does a great credit score matter for you? For a few reasons. The first is that when you submit an application to rent an apartment, most landlords are going to ask for your credit score and they're going to actually run your credit. For example, a score above 670 on the FICO score range of 300 to 850 is actually a pretty decent score. Like most landlords are going to look at that and they're going to say, okay, this person is going to pay their rent on time. Now that doesn't mean if your score is below that you can't get an apartment. It just means that the higher your score, the higher likelihood you're going to be able to find an apartment where a landlord actually wants to rent an apartment to you. So that should be one of the reasons why you should think about getting or building a good credit score, so that when you do eventually go apply for an apartment, the landlord is going to be favorable towards you. After all, they are not going to rent their cherished apartment to somebody who is not probably going to pay them money. Okay, the second reason why I think that a credit score matters, a good credit score matters, is so that you can qualify for the best mortgage rate in the future when you eventually want to buy a home. As you may or may not know, houses are very, very expensive, and most people don't just have bags of cash to go pay for a house in full. What this means is that most people have to actually go to a bank to get a loan, and this loan is called a mortgage. And as you now know, because you watched my last video, loans are not free. People are not just going to give you free money because they like you. There's always strings attached. In this case, the string is going to be something called interest. And the reason why it'd be a good idea for you to have a good credit score is because the higher your credit score, the lower your interest rate is going to be on that mortgage, which quite literally just means that having a good credit score, which qualifies you for a better interest rate, could save you tens of thousands of dollars over the lifetime of the loan that you pay on this house. Now, it's also true that having a great credit score will help you qualify for other loans, like auto loans. But the point of this video is not for you to rely on taking a whole bunch of loans for things. I actually don't want you to do that. The only reason why I want you to build credit is for those two reasons. One, so that you look favorable when you're applying for an apartment, and two, later in life, when you're ready and you've saved money for a down payment on a house, you can get favorable loan rates on your mortgage and therefore pay less money over time. In other words, I'm not making this video so that you can buy a 2023 Tesla. That's not why I'm making this video. I honestly believe that you should pay for your car in cash, but that's going to be another video. So how exactly do you build great credit? Well, what you have to realize is that your credit score is actually made up of 5 factors. Those 5 factors are payment history, credit usage, age of credit accounts, credit mix, and new credit inquiries. The first and absolutely most important thing to build your credit score is for you to pay what you owe back in full and on time every single month. If you do that, then your credit score is going to the moon. If you don't, then it's going down in the gutter. Okay, all jokes aside, it's not really going to go up that much or down that much, but it will over time go up quite significantly if you just do that simple thing. You pay off what you owe on time and in full every month on the statement date. And the easiest way that I found to do this is just to set up automatic payments when you eventually do get a credit card. It's super simple. You can basically log into your account. You can set up automatic payment. You link it to your bank account so that no matter what, money gets pulled from your bank account, pays off your credit card, so that every single month it gets paid off. Now, this only works if you have money in your bank account, if you have money in your checking account. Obviously, you shouldn't be spending any money with your credit card if you can't pay for it with money that you actually have. So just keep that in mind. Okay, the second way for you to build great credit is just for you to establish a long history of good credit usage. And by far the easiest way to start this is to have your parents add you as an authorized user on their credit card account. But the big caveat to this is you should only do this if you know for a fact that they pay off their credit card in full and on time on the statement date every single month. If they don't, then absolutely do not do what I just told you, because you're going to be linked to their credit card, meaning that if they don't pay, then that impacts you. In other words, if their credit score goes down, then your credit score goes down. But if they're paying off their credit card in full and on time every single month, then that's positively going to impact your credit score. Not to mention that if they add you as an authorized user now when you're a little bit younger, you're going to have a lot more time with which you've had this credit card associated with your name, which means that you're going to have a longer period of time to have had this great credit usage be built. Like I mentioned before, if you know your parents struggle to pay off their credit card in full and on time every month, then do not have them add you as an authorized user on their account. Instead, what I recommend that you do is open up a $0 annual fee credit card, like the Chase Freedom Student Credit Card that gives 1% back on every purchase, and start slowly building your credit with that credit card. Also, since how long you've had your accounts open impacts your credit score, you should never close a credit card if you're an authorized user and you're not paying an annual fee, nor should you ever close a credit card that has no annual fee. Just keep it open because it actually is going to help, or it's actually going to benefit your credit score over time. The third way to increase your credit score is to lower your credit utilization rate and keep it below 30%. Utilization simply just means how much of the available credit or how much of the potential loan amount that a bank's willing to give you, how much of that do you actually use? For example, let's say you open the Chase Freedom credit card and your credit limit is $500. To ensure that your utilization rate is below 30%, you just wouldn't want to charge more than 30% of the $500 on your credit card. In this case, 30% of $500 would be $150. So one easy way to help boost your credit score would just be for you to use a very little amount of the available credit that's given to you. It shows banks and lenders that you're not desperate and always needing money, and that's a good thing. The fourth way that you can increase your credit score is just to limit the number of times you apply for a type of loan or a new credit card. When you apply for a credit card, a credit bureau does something called a hard inquiry, which means they do a hard pull on your credit. And this hard pull temporarily lowers your credit score. Now, if you just opened up one credit card, while your credit score is going to go down a little bit for this new inquiry, it's going to rebound pretty quickly once you've actually started paying your credit card off in full and on time every single month. But if you start applying for a whole bunch of new credit cards in a short period of time, that's actually going to negatively impact your score, because basically it's telling banks and lenders that all of a sudden you need access to a lot of money, and that's generally frowned upon. It makes you seem desperate for money, and it's also looked at as risky behavior. The fifth thing that you can do to increase your credit score is just to have a little bit of a credit mix. What this means is having not just one credit card, but having a couple of credit cards, but again, not all at once. What I recommend that you do, again, is have your parents add you as an authorized user if they pay off their credit card in full and on time every month. Then maybe when you turn 18, open up a $0 annual fee credit card like the Chase Freedom student credit card that gives 1% back on all purchases. But generally, this is only impacting 10% of your credit score. So I'm not saying go open a whole bunch of credit cards. All I'm saying is that it generally is better to have multiple credit cards, 2 or 3 or 4 credit cards, than it is just to have one credit card. Okay, so there you have it. You do these 5 things, your credit score is definitely going to go up. And again, the only reason why I think that you should be building your credit is for 2 things. One, so that when you apply for an apartment, a landlord looks at your credit score and says, oh, wow, this person's really trustworthy. They're actually going to pay me my rent. And number 2, when you finally have saved enough money for your down payment on your house, you can actually get the most favorable mortgage rate at the time, which means that over the lifetime of your loan, you're going to end up paying probably thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars less. Now, the last thing that I should say about the credit cards is how you should use them. What I would personally recommend that you do is just put 1 or 2 or maybe 3 recurring monthly charges on the credit card, set up automatic payments, and make this so that it's automated and super easy. The goal is not for you to rely on the credit card as a crutch. The goal is for you to build credit to do those 2 things. Generally, what I think and what I want you to be doing is that you should be using money that you actually have. That's money from a bank account, from a checking account that you use a debit card for, and you're only using the credit card for you to build credit so that when you do need to apply for that loan, for that mortgage, you can qualify for the best rate. You got questions or comments? Leave them down below, and I'll see you on the next Finance Friday.